Hello everyone, we continue with our exercise of trying to write down equations of motions for different systems. In this case, now we look at connected blocks over a pulley. So let's look at what our situation is. In this example, we have been given that there is a pulley which is connected by two blocks. Now these two blocks are connected with each other through this string which passes over the pulley. The first question you must ask in these situations is that what will cause motion in this system? Now the answer is obvious, that if I am assuming that the mass of the block M2 is going to be sufficiently greater than the mass of the block M1, then I can say that M2G, which is the weight of this block, will cause this system to move. That is, this weight will pull the string downwards, and this is how the motion would look like. So assuming that M2 is greater than M1 and this is how the motion will take place, I'm going to try to find out the equations of motion for this system. I'll do what I always do. I will write down the equations of motion by drawing free body diagrams. Now in this case, we will assume that M2G is like the applied force in the system, because it is M2G that is causing motion in the system, and therefore M2G is like our applied force, and therefore I will draw the free body diagram of M2 first. If I do that, then I will see what are the forces on M2. The forces acting on M2 are first the weight M2G acting downwards, and second the tension in the string acting upwards, which I will call as T1. But wait a minute, I have always told you when you are trying to find equations of motion to assign a sign convention to the direction of forces. Now in this problem, I have taken the downward direction to be negative and the upward direction to be positive. In some other sum, I might do exactly the opposite. What I am trying to demonstrate is that it does not matter whether you take the downward to be positive or the upward to be positive, as long as you maintain your sign convention throughout the sum. So now notice that in this sum I am using the sign convention that upwards is going to be positive and downwards is going to be negative. Now please notice how I will maintain this sign convention throughout this module. So if I move on from this, I will get, by applying Newton's law, that T1 is upwards, that is positive, M2G is downwards, that is negative. So I write T1 minus M2G is equal to minus M2A. And why have I written minus M2A? Because the acceleration of this block is downwards, and I have considered the downward direction to be negative. So look at my first equation of motion. I'm going to need it, so I'm going to save it, and therefore I'm going to keep it on top. Of course, notice that I have rearranged it to give me an expression for T1. So I'm going to need this equation of motion. I move on to the free body diagram of the other block. That is, I'm going to draw a free body diagram of M1. Now, which are the forces acting on M1? The forces acting on M1 are the weight of M1, that is M1G acting downwards. I have the tension force T1 acting upwards, and as my sign convention says, downwards is negative, upwards is positive. Newton's law will give me the equation of motion, that is T1 minus M1G is equal to M1A. Notice that here the M1A comes with a positive sign because this block ends up moving upwards, and upwards is the positive direction. So this is my second equation, T1 minus M1G is equal to M1A. I'm going to need it, so I'm going to save it. Finally, I come to the free body diagram of my pulley. If I look at the pulley, then I can see that there are two pieces of string on each side. However, they are the same string. So I have two tensions, that is T1 on this side and T1 on this side as well. Both of them acting downwards because the blocks are trying to pull the pulley downwards. So I have two T1s acting downwards, but this pulley is also connected to this rigid support, and therefore I have this piece of string which is also exerting tension on this pulley, giving me a tension T2 acting upwards. So the free body diagram of the pulley will tell me that T2 is equal to 2T1. And why have I written equal? I have written it to be equal because the pulley is not moving. So this is an equilibrium equation where T2 must be balanced by 2T1. This acts as my third equation. I need it, I keep it. Now I'm going to use only the equations to find out my answers. The first thing I'm going to do is substitute the expression for T1 into equation 2, and therefore I'm going to rewrite 2 and say T1 minus M1G is equal to M1A, but I remove this T1 and instead of this T1 I take down that expression from equation 1 and then I write the remaining as it is. If I rearrange, I can get an expression for acceleration which will be m2 minus m1 upon m1 plus m2, the whole multiplied by g. So this gives me an expression for A. I call it equation 4. Finally, what is my other unknown? It is nothing but the tension T1 and the tension T2. First, I'm going to try to find out T1. So I'm going to use this expression of A into equation 2. So I substitute equation 4 in equation 2. If I write down equation 2 again, it's going to be T1 minus M1G equal to M1A, and I'm going to replace this A with this, and it's going to give me an expression for the tension T1, which is going to be this, as you can see on the board. Finally, I will use this expression for T1 and get the answer to T2. It's nothing but T1 into 2, and therefore if I substitute 5 into 3, then I will get the expression for T2. So you can see I have got the equations of motion, and using the 3 equations of motion, I have found the expressions for all the unknowns, that is acceleration, T1 and T2. Of course, they look very scary, but all you need to do is write it down carefully and you will get the answers. Let's move on to my next example. My next example has almost the same structure, but on one side is one block, but now there are 2 blocks on the other side. Let's see what changes. As usual, the motion will be because these blocks are heavier, and therefore this motion will be in this direction. And again I say that this motion takes place because of the weight of these blocks. So I look at first the free body diagram of M3 and assume that M3G is the first force in the direction of motion. And therefore I say that the forces acting on the block M3 are the weight M3G acting downwards, but there's also the tension of this string acting upwards. Notice that this string and this above string are different, and therefore I call this tension as T2 acting upwards, and therefore from Newton's law I can write the equation of motion for M3 as T2 minus M3G is equal to minus M3A. Notice T2 is upwards, it comes with positive sign. M3G is downward, it comes with a negative sign. M3A, that is acceleration, is downwards, again it comes with a negative sign. So I'm going to use this equation of motion. I rearrange to give me an expression for T2. I get it to be equal to M3G minus A. I need it, I save it. I move on to the next block, and this is where it gets interesting. The next block is this block M2. If I draw the free body diagram of M2 and I ask the same question, what are the forces acting on M2? First, I will see that the weight of the block itself acts downwards, which is M2G, but the tension in this part of the string also is trying to pull this block M2 downwards. And why is there tension in this string? Because of the weight of this block. However, we are not interested in the weight of this block. All I'm saying is because of this block, there is tension created in this string, and that is also pulling the block M2 downwards. So M2 is exerted not only by its own weight, but also by the tension T2 in this part of the string. So M2G plus T2 are the forces acting downwards. Now what is the force acting upwards? It is nothing but the tension in this string, and that I'm going to take T1. I'm going to take a different kind of tension because this and this are different pieces of strings. They are different strings, so there will be different tensions. Okay, so finally I can write from Newton's law the equation for M2, that is T1 upward direction positive, T2 plus M2G downward direction comes with a negative sign is equal to minus M2A. Everything moves downwards, so acceleration comes with a negative sign. I rearrange this to give me T1 minus T2 minus M2G is equal to minus M2A. I need this, I save it. The next thing I do is draw the free body diagram of the pulley. And as always, I say that there are 2 tensions T1 acting downwards. These are supported by the tension T3. Keep in mind, I have kept the name a third tension, that is T3, because this piece, and this piece are all different pieces. And therefore, this is the third type of tension I'm going to name T3, but T3 balances to T1. And we have seen this before. That's because the pulley isn't moving. This is an equation for equilibrium. So I have T3 is equal to 2T1. I need it. I save it. I finally come to the free body diagram of M1, and if I look at that, then the weight of M1 acts downwards, M1g, and the tension acts upwards, T1. T1 is positive, M1g is negative. I get the equation of motion. T1 minus M1g is equal to M1a. A comes with a positive sign because finally this block moves upwards. This is my last equation of motion. I rearrange to give me an expression for T1. I need this, I save this, and now I'm going to use these four equations to find the final expressions for all the unknowns. Now what are the unknowns? It's acceleration, T1, T2 and T3. You always work towards finding what is acceleration first. To do that, I'm going to substitute this expression of T2 into equation 2, and I'm going to substitute this expression of T1 also in equation 2. So I rewrite equation 2. Equation 2 says T1 minus T2 minus M2G is equal to minus M2A, but instead of this T1, I'm going to take it from here and I'm going to bring it here, and instead of this T2, I'm going to take it from there and I'm going to bring it here, and this gives me the final expression for acceleration. It seems like a complicated one. I'm not going to say it out loud, but it's what you get when you find the algebraic expression for acceleration. Now it's pretty straightforward. Once you have A, you substitute this equation 5 into 1, 2 and 4, and you get the final expressions for T1, T2 and T3. So this is how you find the equations of motion. We didn't do anything different, just kept in mind carefully what are the forces acting on each body. Finally, let me come down to what are the observations you can make and what is the summary of what we have done. If I look at the observations in our first two examples, then notice that if I look at the first example, you can notice that tension in all pieces of the same string is taken to be the same. If I look at the same string, then I can see that this piece and this piece are part of the same string, and therefore I can say that I have denoted them by the same tension T1. Right? They are the same string, so they have the same name for tension, that is T1. However, if I look at my second example, then I know that this string and this string are all different strings, and therefore I can notice that this part was given T1 whereas this part was named T2. Why? Because this string and these two strings are different strings, and therefore the second point to note is tension in different strings is taken to be different. The last thing to note is that if your pulley is massless, then tension on the left and right of the pulley is considered to be the same, and that's exactly what we did. Look at this pulley. The tension on the left was also T1, the tension on the right was also T1, and what gave me the right to write T1 on both sides? It is the fact that I have been assuming that my pulley is massless. Now this was a subtle assumption, but it's good we brought it out right now, that the pulley is assumed to be massless unless stated otherwise. So because my pulley was massless, the tension on the left and the right of the pulley was the same. So the question of course arises, what happens if my pulley has a mass? So let's look at that example. If your pulley has a mass m and some radius, then what do? Well, in that case, what we are going to do is this. The answer is that we have already seen this sum before. The only thing we missed out was taking into account the mass of the pulley. So let's do that right now. The first thing to note is that this pulley has angular acceleration. In general, what you need to understand is when the pulley has a mass, the tension on the left and the right will no longer be the same, and therefore now it's not going to be T1, T1 or T2, T2, but T2 and T1, basically different names because this pulley has a mass. Now once that is done, you have to move on to drawing the free body diagram of the pulley. But what will you do by drawing the free body diagram? The first thing you must realize is that the pulley is now considered as a rotating body, because not only does it rotate, but it also has mass, and this makes it a rotating body. And once that happens, you have to remove Newton's law, as you know, that is F is equal to ma, and replace it with the rotational equivalent of Newton's second law. And to do that, all you have to do is replace the mass by the moment of inertia, replace the acceleration by the angular acceleration alpha, and finally replace the force by torque, and therefore F is equal to ma, that is total force is equal to ma, is replaced, and you will get total torque is equal to I alpha, where this is the sum of the torque, I is angular acceleration, I is moment of inertia, alpha is angular acceleration. And this is the new equation that you will have to apply to a pulley when it has a mass m. So what do? We know sum of torque is equal to I alpha. Now the pulley is rotating and not moving in a straight line. So what we have to do is write down the equation of motion by adding the torques, that is taking the sum of the torque. So I get T1R minus T2R is equal to I alpha. If you're wondering how did I get T1R or T2R, remember the torque is given by multiplying force and the distance between the force and the pivot. That is, in this case, T1 is a distance r away from the pivot. Similarly, T2 is also a distance r away from the pivot, but in each of these cases they are in opposite direction, and therefore one will come with the minus and one will come with the plus. Usually the anti-clockwise moment comes positive and the clockwise moment comes negative. If you follow those directions, you will get T1R minus T2R is equal to I alpha. But of course the next question is, what would be I in this case? So to do that, I'm going to remember that for a solid disk, the pulley is considered to be a disk. For a solid disk, the moment of inertia is half mr square, where r is the radius of the pulley. Finally, I ask, what do I do with this alpha, that is angular acceleration? I want my answer in linear acceleration, that is A. So to do that, I'm going to recall the relationship between the angular acceleration and the tangential acceleration, and that is nothing but alpha is equal to A by r, where r is the radius of the pulley. If I remember this equation and this equation, I'm going to use equation 2 and equation 3, and I'm going to substitute that in equation 1. Once I do that, I'm going to write down equation 1 as T1R minus T2R, and on the right hand side, instead of I, I'm going to write half mr square. So I'm going to take this half mr square, and instead of multiplying it by alpha, I will multiply it by A by r. And therefore, I will finally get the equation for acceleration by cancelling out all the r's, and what I will finally get is T1 minus T2 is equal to capital M A by 2. If this is very daunting, remember that whenever you have a pulley of mass m, you have to apply rotational equivalent of Newton's second law, and doing that will give you the equation of motion for the pulley, that is T1 minus T2 is equal to capital M A by 2. And using this, then you can solve the sum as you always do. Only difference is, for the pulley's free body diagram, your equation comes out to be T1 minus T2 is equal to capital M A by 2. For the remaining blocks, it comes out to be as usual. You can use these equations and find the expressions for acceleration and tension as you do normally. So I'm not going to complete this sum, it's as before. I hope you've understood how to do it. If you like the video, please subscribe.